Hey guys, Zoose here. So here we have a Summon AERY Keystone page for MALZAHAR. Now, I've also made a Arcane Comment page for him, and it works just as well, but this has a little bit more pressure in lane, I'd say. Whereas this one, the Arcane Comment Keystone page that I made, is more focused on the scaling sort of part of MALZAHAR, and that burst is just way too important not to take this or consider it. But Summon AERY has a different sort of advantage, and that's kind of harassing a lot and getting those extra autos and making use of the low cooldown that Summon AERY has, where you can pretty much, harass with a Q, proc that Summon AERY once, maybe hit an E, and then that Summon AERY will travel. Once that E has almost ended, because it's damage over time, you'll get a few procs off this. So keep that in mind. Depending on how the game goes, consider both equally and pick accordingly to what you're up against. What kind of teammate do they have? Are they early game or the late game? You decide on that one. First item you want to get, first rune you want to get is Mana Flow Band. This is amazing for MALZAHAR because of that mana. That early game mana is the hardest part. Once you have the Lost Chapter, you're fine. Until then, you may struggle against really good opponents. Now, it all depends. I've had easy laning phase and I've had literally the hardest laning phases just because I get harassed and I cannot harass them because of their range, or I just cannot fight back. And this saves me because I can just push as fast as possible and have that extra mana to just keep pushing, spamming that E. And once you've hit that hump of about level 4, level 5, you're free to go with MALZAHAR. Up until then, that's the only risk he really has in my opinion. And I've used him to climb quite high, so that's the only struggle I've ever had with him. After that, he is just really strong at the moment. Keep that in mind. Depending on how patches go, he is, as I'm talking about him right now, he is getting changed on the PvE, so keep that in mind. I still think he's going to be okay, but that damage is definitely going to, lessen his kill impact early on. Transcendence as the second rune, very good on him. That CDR is going to help. Once you hit that 40% CDR, it's going to be pretty easy just spamming it and hitting waves, and fights are going to go much better. You're going to have the ult up all the time too. This is going to help you get there a lot quicker. Scorch, again, he's got a pretty decent laning phase. After he hits, that speed hump, I think, past level 3 or 4. Once you're past that and you start just clearing waves really fast, this is going to be that extra help. You're going to have to harass in lane. You can't just farm for free sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have to harass them and just fight back. You've got an E that's a point click, and you've got a Q that's, you really want to chain that E. So hit that E, wait a bit. If you can get that Q and just get the longest E duration possible, and Scorch is going to help you, add that extra bit of damage. Second page you want to get is the Magical Footwear rune and Cosmic Insight. Now, Magical Footwear rune is decently safe since he's got that passive up where he pretty much can take any CC and not get hurt. As long as it's the first ability, he's going to tank that, and he's got that shield as well, so decently safe. And a lot of MALZAHARs take Flash and Ghost, so you could always play like that. Even TP allows you to come back to lane safely. Even if you have a bad trade early on, you can always TP back. So boots aren't that essential, but this will kick in at 10 and you can have those free boots, and it's much more useful. You can also take Perfect Timing as well. This is always a good option depending on who you're up against. Someone like Zed, perhaps you could take it against him, and Syndra perhaps as well. Someone that's going to burst you and you're going to need that, get out of jail for free card. This is definitely good for that. Cosmic Insight is the last rune. All these CDRs are going to help him, especially if you get Zhonya's. You're going to, it's just going to help. Everything that this uses, even your ultimate, that the second that it comes up, you can make a play. Remember, MALZAHAR is, without his ultimate, he's pretty much I wouldn't say a sitting duck. He still does a lot of damage, but it's only a MALZAHAR when he has that R up. That's when he's the biggest threat. Apart from that, even other champs I hope don't have their ult up. Say Syndra, for example. She's got a long range stun still, very useful. MALZAHAR, not the same. His Q is really good though. But there's only so much you can do with a Q, long range, with a silence. Alright, just like don't talk too much about it. So he pretty much makes the most of all these stats, and not much else to do. If you can have your flash up quicker, why not? Take this and you'll be fine up until... So pretty much look for plays when your flash is up and your ult is up, and this is just going to help you. It's only 5%, but it does make that extra bit of difference. You can make plays 10, 20, 30 seconds quicker than you could before, and it's all going to add up in the game. You never know when you're going to need that flash for that quick catch. Maybe it's a jungler late game, you can catch him out, press R, and you've got a secured kill and maybe even secured objectives. That's what makes Malzahar so good. So try this out, let's get into the items. So starting with Malzahar, you definitely want to get Doran's ring and 2 health pots, pretty standard. Morello is your first item. Again, this is one of the best components as well. I mean, Lost Chapter, this is just, you get this and your lane is over. Pretty much safe farming, guarantees you that mana and that leveling up with that extra mana. Everything is just secured once you have this. And of course, this is always going to be good too, that CDR. Both components really good, and it just helps you through that laning phase. Once it's done, and once you have this item, you're just strong. You can pretty much, I'd say if you hit everything, you can pretty much 100 to 0 somebody pretty quickly. Source Boots as the second, and Ionian. Now these, it all depends. If you have enough, I'd say go for these. But if you have to back and you need boots, and you definitely want to get these. The CDR is going to help big time, and so is that cooldown reduction for the summoner spells. This is, I'd say it's more of that hard carry, whereas you want to do the most damage. If you're expected to do damage, you definitely want to think about getting these way more than these. But if you're looking for picks and your team is maybe lacking that sort of engage and you just need to pick someone out, you definitely want to get these because this gives you that opportunity to do that. Now, with Rylai's, definitely one of the third items you want to get, but keep in mind that Liandry's, there's the component to Liandry's you want to get is probably Haunting Guys into Rylai's. So get Haunting Guys, Rylai's, and then go Liandry's. If you're super fed, you can just go straight up Liandry's and then Rylai's later. But generally you want to get this for that, you know, that magic penetration is really useful. The health, ability power, Rylai's is going to help later on with catching people out with your Q, with the slow, with the E. The slow is going to be really good with this, so keep that in mind. But if you're fed, just get this straight away. After these 2 items, definitely Void. Zhonya's as one of the last items. If you're super fed and you have to do all the damage, definitely get Rabadons. Again, this is one of the most awkward builds, awkward items to build because of how expensive it is, and generally you get it at the last item and you're basically going to be stuck with a large rod and a bunch of cash until you have enough. But keep that in mind. And of course Banshee is also another option. Now he does have a passive with a shield where he can pretty much ignore a lot of CC and damage, at least the first burst of wave of it. But if they have so much CC and there's so much catch and you are a target, maybe you want to think about Banshee's Veil. It's all situational, but try that out, let me know how it goes, and I'll see you in the next video.